What's up? What's up? What's up? Crazy day we're having here, huh? I don't know who we got in the room with me, but welcome back to After the Snap. I'm Tasha Pierce, your host. And yes, it's been a wild, wild day at the WBIC. Now, let me tell you, full disclosure, I sleep late because I stay up all flipping night, but that's a whole different animal, okay? Um, as it appears here, after I saw the leak. It ain't even a leak. She's actually saying that this is what happened to her. Oh, I'm sorry. They're actually saying this is what happened to them. This is Ruby Rose I'm talking about. She or they. I'm gonna mess that up, and I'm trying. Y'all can obviously see that I'm trying with the pronouns. I'm gonna mess it up because well, Ruby Rose definitely looks more on the feminine side, and my brain is trained to call people she. I apologize. I apologize. Okay, so if you don't know what the heck I'm talking about, what the hell I'm going on about, at something this morning, Deadline began to report that Ruby Rose has slammed the CW, Warner Brothers TV, Berlanti Productions, and top executives on Batwoman in a blistering tirade alleging toxic behavior on the set that drove them from the show. So now, like I said in my description, that other shoe is dropping. I knew there had to be more to Ruby Rose leaving the set of Batman. Let me see. Hey Angus, I gotta see a singular they is hard. It is, and I'm trying because I'm old school, and old school is if this person in front of me uh, appears this way, this is what we call them. But I understand wanting to be addressed the way you would like to be addressed. I'm trying. So I'm gonna do better since I'm reading. Now it was shocking to fans. This is also coming from Deadline. It was shocking to fans when Rose abruptly announced their departure in May 2020, leaving. See, even they did it, leaving her title role, leaving their title role as Kate Kane, Batwoman. At the time, there were rumblings that Rose was not happy on the show, but they left with little clarity on their exact reasons for leaving. Hi, Jose. How are you today? In a statement at the time, Rose said that this was not a decision I made lightly, as I have the utmost respect for the cast, crew, and everyone involved with the show in both Vancouver and in Los Angeles. Okay, so this was our initial statement from Ruby Rose when they left the set of or they left the show. When they left the show, Batwoman, that statement that they made at this time was, this was not a decision I made lightly, as I have the utmost respect for the cast, crew, and everyone involved with the show in both Vancouver and in Los Angeles. Now, as the time went on, more was starting to be disclosed. And I guess I could be showing this to you, huh? So more was starting to be disclosed. Rose said that returning to work 10 days after a surgery maybe wasn't the best idea and made their job more difficult. And it was already a physically demanding job. You have surgery, and then 10 days later, you're up on your feet doing stunts and that sort of thing. That I can imagine how that would be a difficult thing. But now Ruby Rose has taken the gloves off, and they have broken their silence in a scorched earth fashion. This is according to Deadline in a lengthy post on Instagram stories, and I am going to look on Twitter because there were threads with that story on it, and I will read some of that as well. In a lengthy post on Instagram stories, Rose unloaded on the reasons why they really left Batwoman. Uh, Deadline reached out to the CW as well as the studio and production company behind the series for comments. I am going to share a little of their comments right after we talk about what Rose said in her Instagram stories. In the first post, Rose wrote, "Enough is enough. I'm going to tell the whole world what really happened on that set. I will come for you so what happened to me never happens to another person again. And so I finally take back my life and the truth. Shame on you." So now she had had surgery. Well, they had surgery for a stunt injury they had suffered. And that also included some footage of the surgery in that post, saying they were forced to return to work by former head of Warner Brothers TV, Peter Roth. Rose alleged that Roth threatened them into returning by claiming they would cost the production millions and that the whole crew and cast would be fired and that all of this was going to be Ruby Rose's fault. Also, Ruby Rose alleged, well, no, Peter Roth apparently alleged that he had Rose followed by a private investigator after they left the series. I guess trying to protect the company. If they were out doing something that would have been nearly as physically taxing, then they say, we don't have any liability for the injuries that they sustained, and hey, save the company some money that way, right? Well, Rose also accused Roth of inappropriate behavior with a bizarre claim that he had asked women to steam his pants while he was wearing them. That's some weird stuff. Rose also mounted an attack on former co-star Dougray Scott, who played their father, accusing him of misconduct on set. Now, this was not all. She continued, and I mean, just out of nowhere. It was like this past weekend we had the DC Fandom event, and full disclosure, I wasn't as impressed with this year's event as I was last year. I thought last year was done so much better, but we got what we got. But we were still riding that high of what we did get in DC Fandom, which was great looks at Black Adam, Shazam, Aquaman, The Flash, and the pinnacle of this whole thing was that Batman trailer. So a story like this is taking the winds out of the sail for that high that we had coming off of DC Fandom. I don't know if you guys watch DC Fandom. Let me know down in the chat if you guys watched it this past weekend and what you thought of the show. But okay, going further as far as what Ruby Rose alleges, they described unsafe working conditions on set, including saying that a Batwoman crew member got third-degree burns all over his body. You say, my only kink is kink shaming. The pants steaming thing is just weird. It absolutely is. I don't even know what to think. Like, number one, even though he's your boss and all of this, if he asked me to do that, I'd be like, well, can you step out of the pants and then hand them to me on the other side of the door if I've got to steam your pants? Which I don't know who does that on the movie set. But just in case that is something that is normal, I've never been on a movie set. I cannot imagine having to steam a man's pants while he's in them. That doesn't make sense to me. But I'm going back to this crew member that Ruby Rose says received third degree burns over his whole body, and that uh, they weren't allowed to get any therapy behind this, behind seeing one of their crew members maimed in this fashion. I cannot imagine. Uh, Rose also blamed the work conditions for causing serious injuries to other crew members and slammed the show for ruining Kate Kane. She also concluded, well, they also concluded to stop asking them if they would ever return to the show. Ruby Rose says, I wouldn't return for any amount of money, nor if a gun were to my head. Nor did I quit. I did not quit. They ruined Kate Kane and they destroyed Batwoman, not me. I followed orders, and if I wanted to stay, I was going to have to sign my rights away. Any threats, any bullying tactics, or blackmail will not make me stand down. Now, these claims, and there's so much more to it. When I get to where I'm going to read the full, when I'm going to read the full statement from Ruby Rose, this brought me back to Ray Fisher. Now, that situation is now like kind of water under the bridge. Ray Fisher had complaints of being mistreated on set by Joss Whedon, who we know has had similar allegations leveled against him when he was working on Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Okay, Joss Whedon, we could say he might have been toxic. Just him. Even though he's worked with Marvel, and I don't know, I've not heard any Marvel actor say, hey, he was a jerk to us too. So, what is making it normal on a WB set for these types of things to happen? If they're happening. Because Warner Brothers did hit back by 11:30 after I laid down to close my eyes for 10-20 seconds. Warner Brothers Television, the studio behind the CW drama Batwoman, released a strongly worded statement in response to former star Ruby Rose's scathing attack on the show, its producers, and talent, as well as the studio's former top executive. In the statement, Warner Brothers TV corroborates Rose's claim that they were fired from the show. Excuse me. But they call Rose's account revisionist history and says that the firing of Rose, was the result of an internal probe into multiple complaints about workplace behavior against the actor. Now, such an investigation into Rose's behavior on Batwoman had long been rumored, but not officially confirmed until today. Despite the revisionist history that Ruby Rose is now sharing online, aimed at the producers, the cast, and the crew, the network, and the studio, the truth is that Warner Brothers Television had decided not to exercise its option to engage Ruby for season 2 of Batwoman based on multiple complaints about workplace behavior that were extensively reviewed and handled privately out of respect for all concerned. So, Warner Brothers has hit back saying that Ruby Rose was a problem. But again, why do these people feel comfortable making these types of problems on a WB set? Because if you remember, just earlier this season for Titans, the guy who plays Scarecrow on Titans, and I'm going to have to look his name up because I don't remember. If you remember before I look it up, let me know, because they said he was a piece of work on set and actually had to have a babysitter. He actually had to have somebody basically watch him to police his conduct on set. Let's see who that is. Okay. Jonathan Crane is played by whom? Whom? I tell you what. Of course, the print is going to be so small that I can't see this crap. You're gonna get to see me like put my face completely in the screen. Let me make this bigger. I don't know why it's so small anyway. As blind as I am. Uh, I could. It's something Heiser. What is his name? Of course, Vincent Kartheiser. Took me all that time to find this man's name, but yeah, Vincent Kartheiser. He created some problems on the Titan set to the point where people were reporting him for his behavior. Then now WB is saying Ruby Rose created issues on set. Uh, what is it about a WB set, or are we believing that the WB is being wrongly accused, or do we think that there is something to these allegations? Let me know what you guys think, because I'm I'm leaning one way, and the way that I'm leaning is that this might be just a toxic work environment. This might not be the best place to work. Or it could be their in-house people. Because when I think of James Wan, and when I think of Patty Jenkins, and even when I think of Zack Snyder, we didn't hear this type of complaints. These people, the actors, love working with James Wan. You can see it was almost evident in the production, behind the scene production clips that we saw from Aquaman. It's almost evident that they're like having a ball working on the Aquaman 2 set. And then you think of Patty Jenkins and her relationship with Gal Gadot, and how they seem to have a good chemistry. And even Zack Snyder, when he left the production, there was a distinct change in the atmosphere when Joss Whedon came on set. So, do these people realize that this is a more relaxed work environment? And by these people, I mean the executives and the directors who have created problems. Angus says, I'm gonna choose to believe Ruby until someone else speaks against her. And yeah, the only person right now that we're getting is the WB. And they say, oh, we're going to keep it, but we decided we would handle things privately. Well, now that you're being called to the carpet, you would think that someone would come out and in your defense and say, yes, it's true. Ruby Rose was a bad presence on set. Then we can possibly start siding with the WB a little, but it's starting to seem like they have such lax production guidelines that people feel comfortable coming on their sets and being complete jerks. And again, we don't know what goes on behind the scene on any production, but I've never heard this much, like from any place. It's like every year somebody is saying something. And is it coincidental that Gal Gadot kind of broke her silence? She didn't go into an awful lot of detail, but she said that Joss Whedon was basically threatening her, not just her job as Wonder Woman, he was threatening her career. That's entirely different. It's one thing when you hold the cards, you hold the strings. If you and I don't see eye to eye and you are my direct boss, I can see you, letting me go. But to tell me you would ruin my entire career, that is a petty person. Jose says, I remember when things went down with the first showrunner of Supergirl to the point, let me see, my vision, to the point where the cast, were giving statements about him after he was booted. You know, you gotta excuse me. I don't know. It's like today my vision is even more blurry than normal. But but yeah, this is not just isolated events. This is something that just keeps happening and happening. We don't hear about this kind of stuff on the Marvel sets. We don't hear about it when we're talking about The Boys, and that's a wild set, I would imagine. Nobody is leaving the show and complaining that they are being mistreated. But also, Ruby Rose worked for the CW for one season of Batwoman. We've got Grant Gustin and from Flash and his co-stars, and the Supergirl set. Well, you already spoke on one of the things that happened on the Supergirl set. So, but you mean to tell me that this stuff doesn't happen to them, or are they so thick-skinned that they say, it's not worth losing my job to make noise over it? Are we going to hear more after these shows end about how bad it was on set? And then when I think of the one who played Felicity on Arrow, she stayed around for many seasons, but then she left. And I'm wondering if she had poor experiences on set. Of course, this is me jumping all the way off into speculation nation because I don't have anything that says that she had a hard time on set. But yeah, these are my questions after hearing so many bad things. Ray Fisher and his experience, Gal Gadot backed him up. Jason Momoa had his back. The bigger names kind of stood back off of it. Ben Affleck didn't say much, Henry Cavill didn't say much. So I'm wondering what the heck? What the heck? And is it just certain people? If, you know, it looks like what was I gonna say? Like I said, the James Wan set looks so fun. I can't imagine him being a jerk to work for. Same goes for the atmosphere, or what we can, from at least what we can tell in the performances. Ain't nobody gonna treat Dwayne Johnson bad. We know that, and we might be able to put Ben Affleck and Henry Cavill slightly under him. Dwayne Johnson would not get treated badly because that's one person you don't want to speak out against you. He is the it man in Hollywood right now. Hey Reinhardt, I didn't know you were here. Hey, I'm here. I started playing baseball on PlayStation while I was waiting. Well, I hope you were at least winning. I hope you were winning. So yeah, I am flabbergasted, and I keep forgetting that's not the touch screen. So I'm gonna go over here to Twitter because a couple people had rolled it out pretty well where I could kind of see it. She said, "Let me see. I can't see it. Can't see it the way I want to." Okay, I'm gonna. Oh, you're winning. Good. Oh gosh. Let's see. How am I gonna make this bigger? Even bigger than what I got it. And I tell you, this thing, the part that I want to get bigger is not. But I know what I can do. Close that. I am very, and I don't know. I might need to check my blood sugar, huh? My eyes are just so blurred over. It's so hard to see. So I'm gonna find a better copy here. It says Carolyn Carolyn Dries, and I need to make sure I get that name right. Carolyn. Carolyn Dries is an American TV writer and a producer who was worked as a writer on three series for the CW, Smallville, Melrose Place, and she served as an executive producer on The Vampire Diaries. So she is also a producer for Batwoman right now. So this is why she's coming up in Ruby Rose's tirade. She says Carolyn Dries has no heart and wanted us to finish the season throughout the pandemic. And I told her it was a bad idea. I told her everyone was way too distracted, constantly checking COVID updates, checking on friends, and seeing Riverdale, The Flash, and Supergirl shut down already. I felt something bad would happen, and Carolyn Dries maybe visited the set 4 times in a year. Unheard of. But in those 4 to 5 visits, she decided she could tell me she knew my injury happened on set, so I should comply with the private investigator, yet later denied it entirely and said it happened during yoga. And then she says, I don't do yoga. And now someone will never walk again. We shut down the next day, not because she almost killed someone, but the government pulled it. So they stayed working even after all the other shows shut down. So it sounds like this was a Batwoman problem, which means that it is just the people who are on this production who suck. um, and they did not stop filming until the government made them pull the plug. Also, I fought people on set. Yes, not because I wanted to, but because I wanted safety. Ask anyone in hair and makeup what I did for them. After two were hospitalized, the only people who came out and spoke was Dougray, who, talk about unprofessional, called my agent after my exit to find a way to leave, to which she replied, break your neck, I guess, yet slam me in the press. I don't understand that. I never raised my voice on a set, never have. Dougray hurt a female stunt double. He yelled like a little bitch at women and was a nightmare. He left when he wanted and arrived when he wanted. He abused women, and in turn, as a lead of a show, I sent an email out asking for a no yelling policy. They declined. I was late 1 time because I was in hospital. Whoever does these stupid leaks, I'm finding out who, but it's cameras cameras who, after I left hospital, said, yeah, well, maybe if people were not late, we would make our days. A egomaniac kid who worked 1 day a week, had the audacity, or the stunt department, who were furious, even though I never blamed them. But I went on Fallon and spoke of my injury. Fallon. I went on Fallon and spoke of my injury and didn't play the game. Aside from them, I was loved and loved by my crew. Oh, and they wouldn't drive me to work and knew I couldn't legally drive after surgery. So they said, get a taxi. That, that just reeks. of I couldn't work at a place like that. Ruby Rose almost lost her eye. Makad Brooks almost lost his eye, and now Jason Momoa is having to make a surgery on his eye. All of this happened on set. All these sets belong to Warner Brothers, and there's still people refusing to see it. And this, of course, is from just a regular person. I did not know Jason Momoa had an issue with his eye, but I hope I hope that there's a perfectly good explanation for why, you know, why. Yeah, DC Fandom 2021 pulls in 66 million views worldwide, up twofold over last year, and people are like, "So this is what y'all talking about?" Don't try to act like we don't know that Ruby Rose has just put WB on blast. It is nothing, that is nothing. Yeah, there's nothing that you can say right now. You can't tell me about DC Fandom and how great it was because I watched all 4 hours of it, and guess what? It wasn't that great. Some of it was good. Some of it was good, but a lot of it wasn't. And then this is a question. So they put Ruby Rose through all that horrible abuse, wrote out, replaced her character, and then hired a black woman to play an original character as a shield to avoid any criticisms and pushback. Are y'all seeing a pattern yet? Let's see what Reinhardt has to say. Now, I know that's Ruby Rose's side, Tasha, but I told people while they were running their mouth, there was more to this story than you would hear. Because generally, you hear everybody, including Keanu, talk very well about Ruby Rose. Uh, yeah, and here's somebody even stating more people than I named: Ray Fisher, Nadria Tucker, Ruby Rose, Momoa, Gadot are just some of the people who have spoken out about having issues on Warner Brothers productions with executives. I hope Discovery Inc. takes care of these people and issues. They really need to clean house. And I think we can probably look forward to that. I don't know an awful lot about Discovery TV, but I do know that they have inherited what looks to be a mess. So they are either going to fill these exec spots with their own people that they have experience with, or they are going to start a very strict zero tolerance policy on treating adults like children. Because that's the only thing I can think of. You can't yell at me too many times. You're not going to. I'm going to yell back. That's just, it's almost human nature. She says she didn't quit the show, that they fired her. I think that they fired her because she wasn't taking their shit. That's what it sounds like to me. Now, I can't say for sure because, like we say, we still have this WB statement where they say things were very different. That Ruby Rose was a problem, that she was creating problems on set. Again, I've never heard any other behavioral issues on set coming from Ruby Rose. But did Ruby Rose know that the sets were so lax at the WB that you might be able to get away with this garbage? So it all comes back to, is there a culture at the WB? Is it a toxic work environment? And not, of course, not all productions, but definitely this one. Definitely the reshoots of the Justice League were handled very poorly. And it looks to me like Joss Whedon, we might have, excuse me, we might have seen the last of him. I don't know. But it's starting to look like the WB needs to tighten its conduct standards for the sets, and also to look into these people, because again, if Ruby Rose was the problem, if Vincent Kartheiser was the problem, if Ray Fisher was the problem, if all of these people were the problem, you still hired them. You hired them. So what what kind of vetting are you doing of your talent? Because you're the one, at the end of the day, it all keeps coming back to the WB. Reinhardt said, "This is the biggest problem. People get on the internet and make stuff truth, even though they have no idea what happened." And I agree with that. That's why I'm not stating like I was there and I saw these things happening. But I do know that there's two sides to every story. But the fault, the fault would still fall heavily on WB, no matter who the problems are. Tasha, I wasn't there, so I don't know what actually happened. But what I do know is a lot of times Hollywood studios will try to bury you, and there are a lot of arrogant, bad people behind the scenes. And we wonder how Harvey Weinstein got away with this stuff for so many years. And then that is another thing. That's a good point, Reinhardt. How much of it is not just the WB culture, it's old Hollywood culture, where this is the way these people were treated on sets, and hurt people hurt people. So now we're in a position of being executives. Now we can treat people like garbage. Is that the way we should look at this? Toxicity like this starts at the top. It absolutely does. And again, even if all of these people acted poorly on set, if this Kartheiser story, this Ruby Rose story, Ray Fisher, if all of these stories are stuff that we should say, oh, those were just actors acting bad on set, why do they think they can do it? They have had to have seen an example of this being tolerated for them to even try it. I don't know. I don't know. Again, these are just speculations of a person who, of course, I've worked pretty much my whole life up until now. I'm chilling right now, but yeah, there were rules, and there were ways that we weren't allowed, things we weren't allowed to say to people, and I I'm glad that the rules existed, because people communicate differently and all of that. But that's what the problem is. It sounds like these rules do not exist with the WB, and this Discovery thing couldn't have happened at a better time, because the WB has some movies that are really, they're really movies that we're looking forward to, that we want to see, and we want to know that we're not supporting an abusive environment for the people who work on these sets. Reinhardt said, "Let's go Star Trek, Tasha." Terry Farrell, Jazia Dax said that Rick Berman would have her come in and tell her breasts weren't big enough and have her putting on these push-up bras. And to be fair, Rick Berman does deny that this ever happened, but there were multiple people there that saw it happen. And that is unfortunate. I don't know about Jadzia Dax. That could possibly be why Terry Farrell left the show. I don't know. But I'm saying, if somebody was saying that to me, I would leave. Let me tell you, the last place I worked, when my father passed in July, I went on bereavement. I entered my time to get paid for my bereavement leave, and they denied it. And I walked the fuck away. Because there has always been those little microaggressions, but that was huge. So I walked away. Of course, I'm walking away from a job that's not paying me millions of dollars a year. But what I'm saying is, people People who blow the whistle like this, a lot of times, if you had something on them, you would have blown the whistle yourself sooner. Yeah. Okay, so there is so much, and I want to get the full of her statement that she made because Ruby Rose went off that she wrote in a font on Instagram that I definitely can't see. So I do want to. Uh oh. Wait a minute now. I just saw. Oh no, that was something about Candace Patton. Uh, but I didn't see anything that she said that was like she did something. Uh, that she was alleging something had been done to her. Let me see. I'm trying to find. She wrote in this font. Ruby Rose did that I can't read. So I am going to find the one that I can read. Okay, so Ruby Rose has posted some more information on her Instagram. I just want to say one last thing because no doubt I won't get another chance, nor do I want to keep talking about it because it is so deeply hard to do. It's time for me to take my life back and to finally breathe again after all these years. And I'm wondering what she means, like all these years. Didn't this stuff just happen last year? Also, this has gratefully been handed over to the appropriate people now. I did not choose now to come out and speak because of any of the numbers of reasons people will and have wanted to guess. It's much more complicated than that. Nor is it because work has dried up. I have declined more films this year than at any time in my career. If you look just under the surface, and I'm gonna share this. If you look just under the surface, you will see every film I've done, announced and unannounced, are with the same small, trusted group of people because I have been too terrified to work with anyone else ever again after that experience. Lionsgate, Sony, BuzzFeed, thank you. And the producers of The Doorman, thank you. Which just briefly, wait a minute, that didn't make sense. Which just briefly, why would I exclusively work with the same company of individuals if, as the stunt team of Batwoman keep telling people, was where I secretly got injured and faked it later. The injury was recorded on the set of Batwoman and filed as a workplace injury the same day, months prior to The Doorman. And listen, maybe part of the timing was after being attached to WB's Meg the past 3 years. He said the year of 2020 was a long ass decade. Yes, it was. uh, so she was attached to the WB's Meg the past 3 years. Okay, and having developed Jax from scratch with John, a character and IP and franchise I love so much, having the fans constantly ask, will we start shooting, as they constantly posted pictures of Jax, only to be told I was cut a month ago. Hence why I was growing my hair out for Jax and then chopped it, with no explanation. People forget Meg was the #1 film in the world when I joined Batwoman. I was not in a corner lull. Oh, boy, I can't see. I was not in a career lull. I speak now because I understand my privilege. But I am not ScarJo. I do not have Scarlet type money, power, or influence. And sadly, I also didn't have uh, a team like her who cared enough to not be afraid. I also guess I don't have the superpower strength she must have had to do what she did. But I am someone who has always tried to do the right thing, and she inspired me. So did the cast of Jagged Little Pill on Broadway, who chose to live their truths. Then IATSE finally got its moment, talking about the strike that was averted here lately. If I didn't say anything, then what am I really saying? This isn't just for me. This could possibly end my acting career. But it was already ended when I could no longer open a script without a panic attack. I also had to look at all people responsible and who contributed to this, myself included. Why didn't I stand up for myself? Why didn't I sue? Why didn't I get a lawyer? Why didn't I fight? I was tired. I might look tough, play tough characters, but I am very human and very sensitive and do not like conflict. I was also afraid, deeply afraid. I do and say this now because this isn't a crazy out of this world freak incident, nor is it even half of it. I'm speaking up because IATSE and the previously mentioned people reminded me that nothing will change if nothing changes. And people out there are even more scared than I, have less resources than I, and need to know they are not alone. Our industry needs a lot of work. It needs to change dramatically, and people deserve to be less afraid. And maybe, just maybe, aside from healing me, it might make a small change for someone else. Thank you for the support, but I'm in the woods right now, literally, not figuratively, and I will not be on my phone. Please also do try to leave Javicia, I can't say that lady's name, the new Bat lady, the new Batwoman, and other people I didn't name out of this. She deserves better, and some of the people I have been told are getting attacked are my allies, not my enemies. Just because some people can't be public about their support doesn't mean it's not there. Okay, and that is a very good point that she made, because I did kind of say that we didn't hear anything from Ben Affleck and we didn't hear anything from Cavill, but possibly they chose to support privately, and that wouldn't surprise me at all. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me at all if they chose to support her privately. Uh, Let me see. There are people who are saying that Ruby Rose is, that the abuse was justified against her, and that's never right. And I'm again, I'm not completely caping for Ruby Rose. I am saying that everybody was quiet when Ray Fisher was taking it on the chin. It was so many people were quiet, and Ray Fisher again, whole different situation. Joss Whedon has a pattern of behavior that goes back decades. So again, I don't know him like that, but I do know that it is part and parcel, part of his personality is wrapped around the way he treated people on set. Part of what we know about Joss Whedon is the way he misbehaved with people, and maybe when he worked with Marvel, maybe they set that ass down and was like, you can't do that here. I don't know. Reinhardt said, hell yeah, Ruby. They were talking crap about ScarJo when she sued Disney. Her career is over. She'll never work again. She can't beat this day. This day, they're gonna put her in her place. If her place is in line at the bank to cash her check, then yeah, they put her there. And further, also, she's going to be doing more work with the same studio that she sued. So, I mean, there's that. I think if Warner Brothers was not going to name names and say, do like what she did, because she named names, they probably shouldn't have brought out a statement kind of like clapping back. Because it makes them look, you're this big studio. If somebody is out there and they are, what do you call it, slandering you, you've got smaller people to handle that. The same way I felt about Bob Chapek's attorneys coming after ScarJo. It makes you look, what did they say? You doth protest too much. Because if it wasn't true, you could just, wasn't true. She's lying. That's the end. You don't have to say, oh no, she was the problem. And where's your proof? Where are your statements? I need to see something more. I can't just believe Warner Brothers. Even though, again, like I was saying, they have a slate of movies that I am so looking forward to. I'm not saying that I'm canceling Warner Brothers, but I can't particularly stand behind them if they are continuously treating people like shit. I wonder how many, I wonder what changes would the WB be willing to make to ensure that these types of complaints can't be lodged against them ever again. Like, would they be willing to have an advocate for actors and these crew members that have been repeatedly pulled into this story by by the actors involved, because they think that even these crew members are afraid to speak up, because that's a when you're only making $15-20 an hour, uh it's hard to speak out against this big company, and you've got a family to feed, and this is your livelihood. Whereas, a lot of these actors can move on to the next project. These crew members might be ostracized for speaking out. So yeah, these are just, again, these are questions that I have. I thought it was very interesting that she spoke out in such a manner, and yeah, Ruby Rose pretty much just solidified the fact for me that Ray Fisher was telling the truth. I didn't doubt him then, but this gives me far more. This gives him far more credence when somebody is speaking out and the response from Warner Brothers is to attack them and then sending out these private investigators. The same kind of thing happened with Ray Fisher. So yeah, I was really, really interested in knowing what everybody thinks about the situation. What moves do you think would be uh, justified by the WB to make sure that these types of complaints do not become synonymous with their brand? Because I'm telling you right now, it's synonymous with their brand. Even though we have Keanu Reeves, you have Denis. I can't even say Denis Villeneuve. He did this big, beautiful, freaking huge movie that I'm going to see tomorrow night, Doom for them, and then they snatched the rug out from up under him. They're like, we're gonna put this straight on HBO Max. We are going to measure the success of this film and see whether it gets a sequel based on what it does on HBO Max. That is incredibly stupid. You got a movie. I mean, you've already made your promises. You've already said you're going to put it on HBO Max. But the metric that you should be judging this film on is not HBO Max. It is not. The metric, especially people saying that the scale and the scope and the sound of this thing is so magnificent that it needs to be seen in theaters. Just why, unless something crazy happens tomorrow, that's why I'm going to the theater. I don't leave my house too often. Got a touch of agoraphobia. I'm not afraid to leave, but I sure don't like it. So, I'm leaving the house to go see Doom tomorrow, and the WB is telling Denis Villeneuve that your movie can make all the money it wants to at the theaters. We are judging this movie by how well it does on HBO Max. And then there are those, and this is speculation nation again. This is not something that I've seen substantiated anywhere else. We have the previews of the movie tomorrow. That's the Thursday night screenings. Uh, there had been whisperings, and I don't know if the sources were uh, credible, but there were whisperings that they might try to put this thing on HBO Max a day early. So I'm going to be watching to see if it lands a day early, if that is the way that they are going to continue to undercut Denis Villeneuve. But they are showing themselves to be the pettiest group of probably billionaires, at least multi-millionaires. They are petty. They're petty. Why would you do that to that movie? Why would you hurt yourself? Well, I guess it wouldn't be hurt now. HBO Max, they get the whole pie. Uh, at the movies, they got to kind of split it and all that. And it's a lot more splitting going on with the theaters than it would be if it goes to HBO Max and they have to cut Denis Villeneuve a little piece. But yeah, I'm looking forward to tomorrow to seeing Dune. I'm also looking forward to seeing The Matrix. Even though that movie is, it's polarizing amongst fans. Reinhardt said that is completely BS that they would release it a day early. Wow. Now I don't know. That is really in the neighborhood of being a complete rumor, because and I hate diving into stuff that is rumored, but if it turns out to be true, we're about to find out just how petty the WB is, and then I might have to stop fucking with them, period, if they do something like that. Uh, yeah, it's just something to keep our eyes on. If that movie comes out, if it even comes out on Thursday, they are undercutting the movie. They shouldn't even, if they're going to put it on HBO Max, it shouldn't come out on HBO Max until Friday evening. They should make it a prime time event when they drop it. I hate that they're putting it on HBO Max. I do understand, though, that there are some people who cannot leave the house for other reasons than just having anxiety attacks. I'll have an anxiety attack in a minute on you. But there are some people who have true medical complications that says they cannot leave their home. I understand them watching it at home. But, yeah, WB, they better not. Reinhardt, you heard it too. Okay, so he said I've already heard that, and I hope it's not true. Excuse me. I definitely if they do it, that's petty. And that's showing us that nothing is beneath them as far as how low they will go to hurt somebody who they think hurt them. Reinhardt said, "Oh, I'm going to be there tomorrow for Zendaya, Timothy, Josh Brolin, Jason Momoa, Oscar Isaac. You ready, huh? I am too. I got my little ticket, got my little seat picked out, I got my little outfit picked out because I try to coordinate with what's going on. So I've got my little sand colored outfits, and I bought my popcorn. I'm set. All I got to do is show up, and that is the thing, is showing up." But that is the movie that I'll be doing for Film Review Friday this weekend. And now, of course, Film Review Friday is at 7 p.m. on Friday Central Time. And I do it now on Get Vocal, on YouTube, and on Facebook. So if you want to join me to talk about Dune on Friday evening, I will be here live at 7 p.m. unless something legitimately crazy has to happen for me not to be here. So yeah, but yeah, that was the point of me jumping on here today to talk about this. Uh, there was something else. Oh, some of this stuff we're going to touch on the weekly wrap up on Saturday at 3 p.m. Central, where we talk about the week in entertainment. Of course, we will touch on this Ruby Rose situation because I'm pretty sure, uh, I'm almost positive that something else is going to come out about this. I'm not going to say it's going to be from Ruby Rose or it's going to be from the WB, but I don't think we've heard the end of this. I don't think we've heard the end of this. So, I guess while I'm here, I'm gonna. There was something else. Oh, the Netflix. The Netflix employees plan to stage a walkout in the wake of the CEO's response to the controversial Dave Chappelle special. Let me see now. Tasha, you know I love talking to you, but my boy from work has the night off. His wife's at work. My wife's at work. So we going to hit the bar. Peace. Well, no drinking and driving. You guys make sure you call an Uber if you get a little toasted. But I want you to have fun. Have a fun. And the way I know what you meant, but you wrote, but my boyfriend work. Well, and I'm almost done too. The walkout that the Netflix employees are doing in response to the Dave Chappelle special, they are kind of putting the back of their bosses to the wall and saying that, hey, either Chappelle's pictures come down or whatever they said, or we are going to leave. We're going to walk out. So it's a virtual walkout. Oh no, I'm not LGBTQ. I am an ally. But that's all that matters. Yeah. Let's see. So this was one of the things due to the overwhelming response to the rally. We are moving the walkout to the Netflix office close by at 1341 Vine Street, Los Angeles. Safety and accessibility is of the utmost importance to us. So they are expecting a huge crowd, I suppose. But yeah, I these were just things that I was going to talk about. I'm gonna touch on them more on Friday on Saturday for the weekly wrap up. But yeah, Netflix, WB, who next? I see Sony sitting over here. Like, Sony's name is sitting over here on the side of what's happening, and I'm afraid to click on it because it's like everybody wilding. Everybody is wilding, and last thing before I jump up off of here, I appreciate everybody for hanging out with me. Let me see. Oh, I must say this before I go. I have not really liked any of Dave Chappelle's Netflix specials, and I've been a fan for years and years. Um, I like I like Dave Chappelle's brand of comedy. There are, uh, I guess, brands of comedy, with especially during a stand up, that kind of will resonate with one or the other person. To me, I like his brand of comedy. Kind of a Chris Rock type of that's the kind of comedy I like. Uh, it has a message. It's not just clownery, and I'm not saying there are others that love that stuff, but for me, it's kind of got to have some kind of intelligence about it. It's got to be smart, and I think that those two are two of the smartest comedians that we have in this era. They are very smart. But yeah, everything is not for everybody. So even a person that you're a big fan of, huge, be the biggest fan ever, they might do something that you don't like. You don't have to like it, Shoot, a couple of Jay-Z albums in there I didn't like. I love Jay-Z though. I love Jay-Z. So yeah, um, I don't know what I was saying. Some of this stuff we're gonna catch up with on the weekly wrap up on Saturdays, 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. Make sure you're there early enough to hear the Black Movie Trivia question of the week. I do that right at the top of the hour at 3. So if you're going to join me, try to be there on time so you will have an opportunity to flex your movie knowledge, especially of the black movies. This is black, it's actually black media trivia, but it's been on movies for the last few weeks, so we're going to stay there. So, with all that being said, I enjoyed chatting with you all about this Ruby Rose situation, picking your brains about what you think is going to come next. And again, if you're watching it on the rebroadcast, I would love to hear your opinions in the comments below. If you've not done so, please, please, please hit the subscribe button. Tell a friend to tell a friend. And it's this crazy black lady. She gets on and she is going to do a live stream about the entertainment news that we have had. And if it's big enough news, she gonna jump on there at any time. So yeah, with all that being said, it has been fun. And I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.